Now, you've probably heard people talking recently about rare earth elements, but you might be wondering to yourself, well, what are they? How much of a big deal are they? And should we be worried about them?
For decades, the people of northern West Virginia lived beside something that looked dead, but wasn't. Walk along Deckers Creek 20 years ago and you wouldn't find water at all. You'd find a liquid graveyard. The stream burned an unnatural orange, coated in rust-colored foam that clung to the rocks like a toxic skin. The air stung with metal. This wasn't pollution, it was acid mine drainage, the corrosive aftershock of America's coal boom. Across Appalachia, thousands of miles of waterways were wiped off the map, transformed into biological dead zones where even insects couldn't survive. To locals, the orange water was a permanent scar. To the government, it was a multi-billion-dollar environmental disaster with no solution. But while everyone else saw a lost cause, a small team at West Virginia University saw something else. They looked into that poisoned water and found what every global superpower is now racing to control: rare earth elements, the invisible backbone of modern power. Critical minerals used in smartphones, electric vehicles, advanced weapon systems, and missile guidance technology. For decades, the United States has depended almost entirely on foreign rivals for these materials. But hidden inside these so-called dead creeks was a discovery that rewrote the equation. An environmental nightmare had been quietly stockpiling the future of global power. And when scientists realized what they were sitting on, the shockwaves didn't stop in Appalachia. They reached all the way to Beijing, the chemistry of a disaster. To understand how a poison became a treasure, you have to look at the strange alchemy happening deep inside the earth. When coal mines are abandoned, they fill with rainwater and groundwater. This triggers a relentless chemical reaction with a mineral called pyrite, or fool's gold. When pyrite is exposed to air and water, it creates sulfuric acid. This acid is so powerful that it acts like a liquid solvent, dissolving the surrounding rock and carving out metals that have been trapped underground for millions of years. This liquid ore eventually leaks out of the mines and into the streams, creating the orange death that has plagued Appalachia for generations. For over a century, this was treated as a curse. The iron, aluminum, and manganese stripped from the rocks were seen as pollutants to be neutralized and buried. But nature was performing a high-tech extraction process by accident. Traditional mining for rare earths involves grinding down entire mountains and using massive chemical baths. In the abandoned mines of West Virginia, the acid was already dissolving the metals and the water was already transporting them to the surface. It was a massive, unintentional laboratory that had been running for 100 years, and nobody thought to check the results. Until now. China's stranglehold. While the United States was busy closing its mines, China was monopolizing the entire supply chain. Today, China controls roughly 70% of the world's rare earth ore. But more importantly, they control nearly 90% of the processing. This dominance has given Beijing a strategic leash over the rest of the world. The danger of this dependency became terrifyingly real recently. In 2025, China began leveraging that dominance through aggressive export controls on strategic rare earth categories. They even implemented new rules restricting the export of rare earth mining and magnet-making technology. The message was clear: if you want the technology of the future, you have to play by our rules. Factories across Europe and Japan scrambled, and magnet shipments plunged by 75%. But in the United States, the country wasn't completely powerless anymore. In the forgotten hollows of West Virginia, a new American rare earth supply was quietly rising: the alchemists of Appalachia. The breakthrough didn't happen in a Silicon Valley lab. It happened at the West Virginia University Water Research Institute. Researchers sampled the sludge from treatment ponds and found that every single ton of dried sludge contained nearly 2 pounds of rare earth metals. These numbers rivaled the richest mines overseas. But the quantity wasn't even the most exciting part, it was the variety. The sludge was uniquely rich in heavy, rare earth elements like dysprosium and terbium. These are the secret ingredients that allow magnets to operate at high temperatures without losing their strength. They are absolutely vital for military hardware and high-performance motors. The alchemists of Appalachia had discovered that America's old energy heartland was sitting on a gold mine of new energy potential. The two-step solution. The genius of the new American extraction method lies in its simplicity. At the Richard Mine site near Morgantown, engineers developed a facility that treats the mine drainage as ore rather than waste. The process uses a clever two-stage chemical filter. First, they raise the pH of the water to around 4.5. This causes iron and aluminum to drop out, but the rare earths remain dissolved. In the second stage, they push the pH to about 8.5. That's when the rare earth metals finally fall out of solution, settling into a dense, metal-rich sludge. The plant pumps that sludge into long white tubes called geotextile bags. Water drains away, leaving behind a compact, easily shippable concentrate of rare earth metals. There is no blasting, no drilling, and no mountains torn apart. Nature had already done the hard part, from sludge to strategic weapon. Inside the National Research Center for Coal and Energy, engineers built a pilot plant to turn this sludge into high-purity rare earth oxides. They use a process called solvent extraction to isolate each element until only a pure oxide powder remains. The plant successfully produced concentrates with purities around 98%. For the first time in modern history, the United States had a way to extract rare earths from its own waste streams. No open pits, no radioactive byproducts, and no dependence on foreign states. This was happening at the exact moment the world needed rare earths more than ever. These magnets power everything from missile guidance systems to wind turbines. And as China tightened its grip, these dead streams became America's most unlikely strategic asset. Why China is watching. China is paying close attention because this discovery strikes at the heart of their leverage. For years, they assumed the United States would always be dependent on them. But the sludge mining method turns the economic model on its head. Because the metals are already dissolved, the mining is essentially free. The costs are tied to water treatment, a cost the government was already paying. By adding a rare earth extraction circuit to existing treatment plants, the U.S. can produce these minerals at a price that competes with China. The Pentagon is already eyeing these sites as a strategic reserve. Unlike a traditional mine that takes 10 years to open, these treatment plants are already operational. In a trade war, these facilities could be scaled up rapidly to ensure the U.S. military has what it needs. The ripple effect. The discovery in West Virginia has triggered a waste hunt across the continent. Scientists are now looking at coal ash in Wyoming, fertilizer waste in Florida, and the massive toxic pit in Butte, Montana. The Berkeley pit, once one of the most toxic sites in America, is now being viewed as a massive liquid reservoir of strategic metals. The global response has been swift. Since these breakthroughs were announced, China has doubled down on its own research to keep costs low. They know their leverage depends on being the cheapest provider, but the U.S. has the environmental credit. Because these projects clean up toxic waste while they mine, they have massive public support. It is a green mining revolution that doesn't require a single new hole in the ground. The global stakes. Rare earths are not just metals, they are leverage. They determine who builds the next generation of military technology and who leads the clean energy revolution. America is realizing that its greatest resource may not be buried deep underground, but flowing through the very rivers it once abandoned. From West Virginia to Montana, The United States is proving that what was once waste can become a competitive edge. As more rivers transform from orange to clear, the balance of power begins to shift. It isn't happening overnight, but it is happening steadily. The Rust Belt is becoming the critical minerals belt, and the ability to produce these materials domestically means American sovereignty is no longer up for negotiation. A future written in water. The story of America's rare earths is a story of a second chance. For a century, Appalachia fueled the rise of the United States, only to be left with the environmental bill. But today, those same dead rivers are the key to the next century. The scars of the past are literally providing the materials for the future. As these plants grow, the landscape will transform. Rivers will run clear, and communities hollowed out by the decline of coal will find new life. The world never expected a polluted mess to become a strategic weapon, but the best discoveries are always the ones that hide in plain sight. The future of global power doesn't begin in a boardroom, it begins with water. The Orange Death was once a symbol of industrial failure, but today, it is the front line of a new American revolution. This discovery proves that even our greatest mistakes can hold the key to our future success. But as the US scales this technology, the question remains, will it be enough to break China's monopoly before the next major conflict begins? If you want to stay ahead of the secrets and discoveries that are reshaping our world, you need to be part of the inner circle. Make sure to subscribe to Mystery's Uncovered Files right now. We are digging deep into the files the mainstream media ignores to bring you the truth about the global power struggle. Don't let the future catch you off guard. Hit that notification bell and join us for the next investigation.